Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna be doing my February wrap-up. I've read 7 books this month, which is quite exciting. I've not finished 7 books, but I've read from 7 books. There were a lot of disappointing ones that I DNF'd, but we're gonna talk about all of them. So let's just get started. The first book I read this month was the best book that I read this month, and this DHE Give by Angie Thomas. I thoroughly enjoyed the experience of reading this book. It's a very tragic and hard-hitting YA contemporary about a girl named Star who had to experience a very dramatic event. Her friend got killed by a police officer, and it's her trying to speak up and understand how to deal with it. I love this book so much. It taught me a lot of things that I didn't know were happening. I love the pacing, I love the characters. They all were really vivid and unique, and I could hear and imagine all of them very easily. They're very distinguishable. The family dynamics here was just very incredible. The friendships were really realistic. And I just loved everything that was in this book, and this was definitely a 5-star read. Highly recommend this one. The next book that I attempted to read was The Bone Collection by Katie Reichst. I attempted to read The Bones in Her Pocket. It's a short novella of 67 pages, and I couldn't get even half through it. The conversations and dialogues between the investigators felt so overdone. I cringed the entire time I was listening to this book. They used a lot of slang and cool words to make them feel big and cool, but honestly, they were kind of just sound really annoyed and pathetic. I never read from this author before, and going into this book, reading about forensics anthropology was very interesting experience. I feel like they missed out on so many cool facts and information that could be used to describe what happened to the victim and, you know, stuff like that. But they were using a lot of gross descriptions of things that didn't even matter. So honestly, the whole experience of reading this book was just miserable. It's just not for me. It's not my cup of tea. Nope. Look at me putting books on the shelf like a cool YouTuber. After being disappointed in this audiobook, I decided to pick up another audiobook from my list, The Buddha Any Addict by Julia Tsuka. This book was less disappointing, which was very nice. It's a very short novel about Japanese women being shipped to America to marry their husbands, and it's kind of just their experience living with them, working in America, you know, having children, just the whole life. The writing style is what I've noticed to be the most annoying thing for many people when they go into this book, because this book is trying to tell the story of many women, of many lives and fates, not just one particular character. So there were a lot of repetition of one of us went from this place, one of us from this place, one of us wore this thing, one of us ate this thing, one of us this thing, one of our husbands did this thing. So it was just a lot of repetition, which was getting quite irritating, but I saw the point. I knew what this book is trying to do, and I didn't really bother me that much. It was such a short book that it didn't annoy me that much. I love the story. I learned a lot about Japanese culture, Japanese spirit. It was quite touching and a little bit heartbreaking, but it was very well done. I didn't have a lot of complaints reading this book, so I'll give it 4 stars. It's pretty solid. Alright, so the next book I finished in February was Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. I read the majority of those books in my reading log. I will list it down below, by the way. I never really read anything by Gillian Flynn. Was very excited going into this book to try this author. I love psychological thrillers, I love mysteries, so this was just right up my alley. It was very different from what I've read before. Let's just say that. I love the unique pacing and the characters that were very flawed and, to say the least, weird. The whole story made me very uncomfortable, which is great. It's a psychological thriller. This is exactly what you expect of it. The twist was quite exciting. For many people who read this book, they will not see it coming, which was interesting, but I took my dear time reading this book this month. I kind of had a lot of time to ponder about what was happening in the book, and I kind of came to, you know, the twist in my own head. So I guessed what would happen So that made it less exciting for me, but anyway, it was a very good reading experience, and I'm so excited to check out more about Gillian Flynn. I think she has a lot of potential. I see why she is so hyped up and loved. She's great. I rated this book either 4 or 4.5 stars, so yeah. Put them behind my head. She's right there. I didn't forget. She's right there. So the next book I read this month will be the book that I want to do the whole review for. And it's not gonna be a good review. It's the 1984 by George Orwell. Wow. I don't want to say too much because as I said, I want to do the whole review about this book. I just want to say that I see why it's a classic, and I really loved the concept, the idea behind this book. The execution, in my eyes, there were a lot of plot holes and stuff that didn't work, that weren't best choices for the author to make, which that's what I'm going to be talking about in my book review. As I said, I love the idea, I love the dystopian world that this author was trying to bring, how he used the Russian communism and German Nazi to create this overpowering, controlling dystopian world, and I loved the idea that was brought across and the ending and the meaning of, you know, of everything was very nice. I don't want to go into spoilers in this video, but there were a lot of problems that I found myself not being fine with. I can see why it is a classic, and I can see why people want to read it and why people praise it, but I don't think a lot of people realize that this book could have had so much more potential than what it became. I know a lot of people would disagree with me on this one, but I would say wait for the review and I'll explain more why I think this way. The next book that I finished reading that actually helped me to come to conclusions and opinions with my previous read was The Giver by Louise Lowry. I wanted to read The Giver for so long, and I was like, I want to try something by this author so badly. So I finally thrifted this book, and I was very excited going into this one. This, as I came to realize, is another dystopian world, which I had a great time reading 2 dystopian books at the same time. It just happened to be this way. This was a mostly audiobook, and this I read physically. This book I like so much more, and it's not because it's for YA readers or it's children's books, but because of what elements this one had that this one didn't. I feel like 1984 was the beginning of this world, and The Giver was what this world could have become, which I thought was very fascinating. I read this book in 2 days. I loved this. It was a great experience. 4.5 out of 5 stars, so it was a great read. I'm so excited to continue with the series. Let me know if you read The Giver and if you liked it or not. I'll be very interested to discuss this book with you more in my review of 1984. I'll discuss this book as well there. Okay, and the last book that I quickly added to this list, which I wanted to just stay with 6 books in February, but this one just happened to catch up as well. Shots Fired by C.J. Box. Oh my dude. I didn't have a lot of expectations going into this book, and I didn't DNF this book. I managed to read 2 whole stories from this collection. I read the first one, which was One Car Bridge, and the second one, which was, let me see, Pirates of Yellowstone. There you go. While with Bone Collection I had a lot of complaints and stuff that I can pinpoint what I didn't like, this guy is just... There were supposed to be crime novels, and I saw no crime in them at all. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, after reading this thing and then reading this, I'm like, this is no crimes. The plot of the stories were very boring, the lives of people were very boring, the characters were very boring, the conversations were very boring. I read 2 novellas and they were just plain and boring and not interested, and I was like, what's the point? So this was just bad book, but writing. So that was it, my dudes. These were all the 7 books that I read in months of February. It was a very interesting month, and a lot of things happened. A lot of people after watching the vlog will be, well, where's Carvel? I'm still in the middle of it, so Give me more time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next one. Bye!